What if I told you the way you've been pleasuring yourself might be the very reason your sex life is falling apart? Yes, even something as personal as masturbation, when done the wrong way, can silently damage your sensitivity, your ability to perform, and even your confidence in the bedroom. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, professor of urology and men's health specialist. For over 30 years, I've helped thousands of men, especially those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, reclaim their vitality, restore their sexual performance, and enjoy fulfilling intimacy again. And I'm here to tell you something most doctors won't. The way you masturbate matters, especially now. Masturbation is supposed to be safe, right? Normal, healthy, natural. And it is. But there's a hidden danger most men don't realize until it's too late. In fact, I've seen perfectly healthy men develop erectile dysfunction, lose interest in their partner, or struggle to climax, all because of a few simple, repeated mistakes done in private. What's even worse, these habits are often picked up early in life, carried for decades. And by the time you're in your 60s, your brain and body are so conditioned you don't even realize the damage has already been done. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 most common masturbation mistakes that could be wrecking your sex life, and more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to fix them. Whether you're dealing with a weak erection, trouble finishing, or you just don't feel as aroused anymore, this could be the missing link to restoring that part of yourself. These are not theories. They come from real science, clinical experience, and conversations with men just like you. One of these habits is so common, I'd bet 9 out of 10 men do it without even thinking. Yet it can numb your sensitivity and train your brain to fail during real intimacy. We'll talk about that, and 4 others you've probably never considered. So stay with me. You need to hear this, especially now. Your sex life isn't over, but you may need to unlearn what's been holding you back. Before we get started, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that button and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any more honest, no-nonsense health advice made especially for men like you. If you find this video helpful, type yes in the comments. If not, type no. I read every response, and your feedback helps me create better content that truly supports your health and well-being. Let's begin with one of the most common and most harmful habits I see in men over 60. It's something you might have done for years without realizing the damage it's caused. I'm talking about what's known as the death grip. And trust me, your body remembers it, even if you don't. Mistake 1. The death grip. Too much pressure, too often. I've sat across from countless men, good men, husbands, fathers, grandfathers, who've come into my office whispering the same thing. Doctor, something's changed. I can't feel as much anymore. I'm not responding the way I used to. And in so many of these cases, when we dig a little deeper, the truth comes out. They've been using an extremely tight grip when they masturbate. For years, sometimes decades. This is what's known as the death grip. It's not a clinical term, but it's accurate. It refers to the habit of gripping the penis too tightly and moving too fast during self-pleasure. And at first, it feels intense, even satisfying. But over time, that very technique starts to work against you. The constant pressure and friction condition your body to respond only to that specific, exaggerated stimulation. Your brain rewires itself, expecting that same tight intensity just to achieve arousal or climax. The problem? That kind of grip has nothing in common with real-life intimacy, with a partner's hand, mouth, or body. What happens next is often heartbreaking. You're with someone you care about. You want to feel that connection, but your body doesn't respond. You can't get as firm, or you struggle to finish. It's not because you're broken. It's because you've trained your body to rely on something unnatural. Worse still, this isn't just about mechanics. It chips away at your confidence. It creates distance in relationships. It makes you avoid sex, not because you don't want it, but because you're afraid you can't deliver. And no one deserves to live like that, not at any age. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know it's not too late to change. Start by loosening your grip. Use lubricant to reduce friction. Slow down. Explore different sensations. Give your body time to relearn what gentle, realistic pleasure feels like. It won't happen overnight, but with patience, sensitivity can return, and so can confidence. Now, if you're wondering how something so common could cause so much harm, wait until you hear about the second mistake, one that doesn't just affect your body, but actually rewires your brain's entire arousal system. This next one is more dangerous than most people realize, and it starts with what you're watching and how often. If you're still watching and these insights are resonating with you, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. I truly appreciate it. Now, let's move on to the next important mistake you need to know about. Mistake 2. Watching the same porn over and over. This one is difficult to talk about for many men, but it's more common than most people think. Over the years, I've heard the same quiet confession from patients across the country. "Doctor, I can't get aroused with my wife the way I used to." Sometimes they blame age or assume they've just lost the spark. But when I ask about their solo habits, a deeper truth surfaces. They've been watching the same kind of pornography for years, often the same videos or same categories, over and over again. It's a private ritual, familiar and fast, but it's also slowly changing the way their brain works. See, the brain is incredibly adaptable. It learns patterns, especially when they're connected to strong emotions like sexual pleasure. And when the only thing that reliably gets you aroused is an intense, highly edited, unrealistic video, your brain starts to associate that specific type of content with arousal. Not real touch, not your partner's voice, not shared emotion, just pixels and repetition. Over time, this leads to something we call desensitization. What used to excite you no longer does. You may find yourself needing more extreme or unusual content just to feel the same spark. And tragically, when you're with a real partner, a person who loves you, who wants to connect, you feel numb. Your body doesn't respond, your mind wanders, and intimacy becomes more of a performance than a shared experience. This isn't just a preference, it's a neurological shift. And it's dangerous because it quietly steals away the joy and spontaneity of real-life intimacy. Many men suffer in silence, thinking something is wrong with them, when in truth, their habits have simply reshaped their arousal pathway. You can reverse this, but it starts with awareness. Begin by changing what you expose yourself to. Take breaks from visual content, try reading erotica, using your imagination, or engaging in sensual touch without a screen. If you use porn, vary it. Better yet, share it with your partner and explore together. Variety reopens the door to natural arousal. Now, if you think overstimulation through media is damaging, wait until we talk about what happens when you rush through self-pleasure like it's a race. The third mistake is one most men develop early in life, and it follows them like a shadow, quietly sabotaging their stamina and satisfaction. Mistake 3. Masturbating like it's a race. Quick, quiet, and guilty. This one hits close to home for many men, myself included. Growing up, the message was clear. Sex was taboo, and masturbation was something you hid. You did it quickly, quietly, maybe behind a locked door, afraid someone might walk in. And so, like most boys, you learned to rush. You trained your body to climax as fast as possible. No connection, no awareness, just relief and guilt. The problem is, many men never unlearned that. They carried it into adulthood, and now, even in their 60s or 70s, they still treat self-pleasure like a sprint, not realizing how deeply it's affecting their sexual health. I've had older patients tell me they still finish in under a minute, not because they want to, but because that's just how it's always been, and they wonder why they struggle with premature ejaculation during intimacy. It's not a mystery. When you've spent years teaching your body to climax quickly, that's exactly what it will do, with or without a partner. The real tragedy is that it also robs you of intimacy. There's no space for connection, for curiosity, or for truly learning what your body needs. And worse, it reinforces shame. Deep down, many men still believe they're doing something wrong, even when they know intellectually that masturbation is healthy. That guilt lingers, quietly damaging their self-esteem and reinforcing a belief that pleasure must be hidden or rushed. But here's what I want you to hear. You deserve better. You deserve time. You deserve pleasure without panic. You deserve to touch your body without shame or fear. So slow down. Set aside time, not just for climax, but for exploration. Breathe, relax. Use your hands in new ways. Get curious about what feels good, and give yourself permission to enjoy it fully. You're not doing anything wrong. In fact, you're doing something deeply right by reconnecting with your own body in a healthier, more intentional way. And if you think speed is the only silent saboteur, think again. Many men assume the issue lies in the technique, but what they don't realize is that something as simple as what they're using, or not using, can be causing irritation, damage, and even long-term sensitivity loss. The fourth mistake is shockingly overlooked, but its effects run deeper than you'd expect. If you're still here and finding these insights helpful, go ahead and type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're with me. I appreciate you taking this journey seriously. Now, let's continue with the fourth mistake that too many men overlook. Mistake 4, not using lubrication or using the wrong kind. I can't tell you how many times I've had a patient sit across from me describing discomfort or irritation after self-pleasure, thinking it was just part of getting older. When I ask if they're using lubricant, I usually get a blank stare or a shrug, followed by, "No, I never really needed it before." And that's exactly the issue. As we age, our bodies change. The skin becomes thinner, more fragile, natural moisture decreases, and yet many men are still treating their bodies like they're 25, using dry hands or, worse, lotions and products never meant for intimate skin. Here's the truth. Masturbating without lubrication is not only uncomfortable, it can be damaging. The friction causes micro-tears in the skin, leading to long-term sensitivity loss, inflammation, and even chronic irritation. Over time, this can dull the very sensations you're trying to enjoy. Some men try to solve this by using things like petroleum jelly or scented body lotion, but those can clog pores, disrupt the delicate skin around the genitals, and increase the risk of infection or allergic reaction. I've seen it far too often, men unknowingly harming themselves with every session, all because no one ever told them they should be doing it differently. If that's been you, I want you to know there's no shame. You were never taught how to care for your body in this way, but now you know, and now it's time to change. Use a high-quality, body-safe lubricant, something that's designed specifically for intimate use. Water-based lubes are great for easy cleanup and safety with condoms. Silicone-based lubes last longer and are ideal if you struggle with dryness. If you prefer natural alternatives, coconut oil can work, just avoid anything heavily perfumed or petroleum-based. Once you start using the right lubrication, you'll not only protect your skin, but also restore the smooth, gentle sensations that make intimacy enjoyable again. Neglecting this step may seem small, but over time, it takes a serious toll. It's like driving a car without oil. You might get away with it for a while, but eventually, something breaks. But as important as lubrication is, there's one more mistake that cuts even deeper. One that doesn't just affect your body, but your heart, your self-worth, and the way you see yourself as a sexual being. This final mistake is invisible, but its impact can follow you into every intimate moment, and it all starts with how you feel after you finish. Mistake 5. Carrying shame into the bedroom. Of all the mistakes we've talked about, this one might be the hardest to admit and the most dangerous. Not because it damages the body directly, but because it quietly erodes your confidence, your connection, and your sense of self as a sexual man. I'm talking about shame. That lingering, unspoken guilt around masturbation that so many men carry silently, even into their later years. I've sat across from men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, good, kind, intelligent men, who still lower their voice when they mention they masturbate, as if it's something to be embarrassed about. Some grew up in religious households. Others were raised in a time when sex was never talked about, let alone self-pleasure. And though they may now understand, logically, that there's nothing wrong with touching themselves, emotionally, they still feel like they're doing something wrong. That emotional weight doesn't disappear on its own. Here's why this is so dangerous. Shame doesn't just stay in the background, it leaks into everything. It makes it harder to enjoy intimacy with your partner. It makes you second-guess your desire, your masculinity, your worth. You start to think maybe you're broken, or maybe you've aged out of pleasure altogether. You distance yourself, emotionally and physically, even when deep down, you still crave connection. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. There is nothing shameful about taking care of your body. There is nothing wrong with wanting to feel good, to explore pleasure, to be a sexual being at any age. Masturbation is not a sign of loneliness or dysfunction. It's a form of self-respect, self-knowledge, and healing. When you approach it without guilt, you start to repair more than just your sex life. You rebuild trust in yourself, you regain control, and you make space for deeper, more meaningful intimacy with your partner, or even just within yourself. If you've been carrying that shame, it's time to let it go. You didn't put it there, but you can choose to release it. And now that we've uncovered these 5 critical mistakes, you might be wondering, what next? What can you actually do, starting today, to restore sensitivity, rebuild confidence, and reignite that part of your life you thought was gone for good? Let me walk you through it, because there's real hope ahead. Conclusion: take back control of your intimacy, one choice at a time. If you've made it this far, I want to take a moment to speak to you directly, not as a doctor, but as another man who understands how deeply personal this all is. What we've talked about today isn't just about physical technique or bad habits. It's about the quiet, often unspoken ways we lose connection, with our bodies, with our partners, and sometimes even with ourselves. Maybe you saw yourself in the death grip, that overly tight, rushed way of seeking relief. Maybe you've been stuck watching the same kind of pornography, wondering why real-life touch no longer lights the same fire. Maybe you've always treated self-pleasure like a secret you had to hurry through, a chore instead of a gift. Or maybe you've ignored the simple act of using lubrication, not realizing how much damage dry friction can cause. And then there's the shame, the one that sneaks in after it's all over, telling you you're too old, too broken, or that you shouldn't be doing this at all. The truth is, none of these mistakes make you weak. They make you human. They are patterns so many of us developed without even realizing it. But now that you do realize, you have a choice. You can continue down the same path, feeling more distant from pleasure and intimacy with each passing year. Or you can stop. You can pause. You can begin to unlearn what no longer serves you and choose something different. You can start by loosening your grip, changing what arouses you, taking your time, caring for your body with intention, and, most importantly, giving yourself permission to feel good without guilt. Every small adjustment is a step toward reclaiming the part of you that still wants connection, still craves touch, still believes in pleasure, not just as a memory, but as a living, breathing experience available to you now. You are not past your prime, you are not too far gone, and you are not alone. This journey isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about returning to what's been forgotten, that your body still matters, your pleasure still matters, and you just as you are still worthy of desire. Now, I invite you to take the first step. Reflect, adjust, and most of all, stay curious. Because the most powerful change doesn't come all at once. It begins quietly, with the decision to stop ignoring what your body's been trying to tell you all along. If this message spoke to you or helped you see things in a new light, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and leave a comment below. I truly read every one. Your story, your questions, your support, it all matters. And it helps me continue creating honest, meaningful content that supports your health, your confidence, and your connection. Thank you for being here.